Okay, hello? Sorry, hi everyone. I actually just got a phone call in the middle of me recording this, and it stopped my recording, just deleted the whole thing. Anyway, yes, thank you for listening to this. This is a big deal. This is a big recording of mine. I have a lot of information to talk about, and there's going to be a lot going on. So I've always wanted to do a recording on Dexter. I've always wanted to do it. And I guess now is my chance to do it. This is actually going to be part of my 31-day Halloween thing that I want to do, where I took different horror movies or slashers or things like that, and just kind of did commentary on them. wasn't sure I wasn't sure how exactly that was going to turn out or what I was going to do. I did have a list of movies. I asked, asked for some references, things like that. But other than that, there was no preparation. I think it's the seventh already, and I've only done one recording. But have no idea what episode this is going to be released in, what part. But this is going to be a recording on season one of Dexter. Just the first season, for right now. If I do the other seasons, which I really do plan to, they're going to have their own separate recordings, own separate episodes. I originally was going to do a commentary on the whole season while I watched each episode. Wasn't sure how I was going to do that, but sorry, excuse me. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a recap, and then maybe in the future I will do something along the lines of doing episode by episode. Also, I know I'm a few minutes in already, but also to tell you about the atmosphere, um, I have my PlayStation 3 is running right now. That's how I'm able to see these episodes and see them digitally. They're all close together. So I'm on my PS3 right now, and it's the motor is pretty loud. So in order to keep it cool, I have my air going on, and so my system and my air are directly blowing at me and the mic. So I don't know if there's a lot of noise that you can hear. I did a sound test and heard nothing, but yeah, I tried to be quiet to see if the recording would pick it up, and no, there's no sound fluctuation. So anyway, so yeah, if you do hear a lot of sound, I do apologize for that. I did test it out on my end, and it's fine. But again, I apologize for that. So yeah, another thing to set up what's going on. Whenever I do a recording, I always try to have this wine glass. It was given to me by one of the first photographers in one of the wars, and she was the first female photographer. So she went out there and things like that. Well, I talked to her at an antique store in New Mexico, and she was actually selling. There was this nice wine glass that I was looking at, and I kept looking at it and playing with it, and examining it and rubbing it between my fingers. And I really liked it, and I didn't know that she was the one selling it. So she was like, "You like that glass? I got plenty of them. There you go." So I was like, "No, it's okay. I'll buy it." She's like, "No, I'm gonna throw it away if you don't take it." So I always cherish this wine glass, and I try to drink something out of it through every recording that I do. Most recordings, surprisingly, I've been sick, so I've been recording them while I was sick, and which I am sick now, which is weird, which is funny. Almost all of my recordings, I've been sick, but I'm so busy. It's the only time I have time. But anyway, right, Dexter. This is supposed to be about, well, giving a backstory and things like that. But yeah. So yeah, I'm going to be going through the entire first season right now, and I'm going to be drinking Mountain Dew and out of this wine glass. So yeah, just my tradition, just to set things up for now. Every now and then, I'll probably do this introduction because just to kind of give people familiar. whatever. But all right, so first 5 minutes is done. Um, Again, my PS3 is pretty old, and sometimes it freezes. So if it does freeze, I would have to pause this recording and fix it all later because I don't do any editing. I don't do any audio editing at all. It's just kind of whatever happens, happens, and that's what gets recorded. That's what gets released. So yeah, yeah, big time dream of mine. Okay, so let me hit play and let me turn this volume down. I was very hesitant to do this because, uh, um, YouTube and stuff, and oh, we sense a noise or a song in the background if you're recording. Copyright. Just don't want to deal with that. Dexter. I've never seen the logo quite look like that. All right, so full moon shows Dexter. So yeah, it shows the brightness of Miami right now. So yeah, I'm gonna be going through like a whole little detailed thing about the first season of Dexter. Also, a few reactions I asked, but some stuff you may not know. So right now you see Miami and it's shining bright. There's all these bright colors, but then you see Dexter, and then Dexter is like hidden in the shadow. So he's looking around. There's someone who's dancing. Another person, woman who was abused. Looks like she was doing drugs. A quick, never noticed that actually. And then there's another couple being intimate. This really shows Dexter being observant as a character. So now there are all these kids. These, I guess, they're Mormon kids, I believe, and they're all singing right now. The person that they're singing to, the pastor guy or whatever, Mike Donovan. So I actually looked up that name, Mike Donovan, and he is actually a musician. So it was interesting to see that correlation. There could be no connection at all, but you know. So yeah, another interesting thing about the first season of Dexter is it actually foreshadows a lot of of the whole show. Basically, season 1 through 4, it does. There's in the first like 5 episodes of the first season of Dexter, it actually reveals the plot point of the first 6 seasons of Dexter, which I think was very interesting. Of course, probably not on purpose. I don't know. When you're dealing with the show like Dexter, it is what it is. So yes, there are going to be spoilers. I say that now because as I'm skipping this scene, Dexter takes his first victim to the spot. There's some bodies there, which those bodies of children were also present in season 4 of Dexter with Trinity. And this background, this location really can put a person in a dark state of mind, just in the graffiti and all of it, the lack of music, just all of it. The lack of music is awesome because it really does show the emptiness of this character of Dexter right now, about to kill somebody. So now they're talking in the shadows, and Dexter says, "Open your eyes and look at what you did." Now that was the scene. That was the line that was said to him at the end of Dexter New Blood. So that was like a full circle reference to where Dexter had to realize, hey, Dexter, you have killed some innocent people and you've done what you had to do to escape. But at the end of the day, you're still a serial killer, and you have to understand that the excuses you make for yourself is the exact same excuses that your victims make, and you have to take responsibility of that. So that was a big revelation, and then he understood that he was a monster. Yeah, which I have some problems with, but that's for another episode. Yeah, so I remember actually when this first episode was being recorded, I wish I remembered the name. I think Rita. Yeah, it was Rita, and I remember that because that's the name of Dexter's girlfriend, Rita. Forgive me for coughing every now and then. Um, when they recorded the first episode of Dexter, there was actually a hurricane that hit, and it was Hurricane Rita. So that was something interesting. The actors kind of had to work around filming a hurricane, which which I guess no one knew it was coming, so they were filming around it. But yeah, they did a good job, and so there was some exteriors that showed everything destroyed. But but yeah, some useless knowledge for those who care. Yeah, showing Dexter ritual for the first time. I like how there's no music playing at all. The music itself in the show is a character, as with most certain shows and things of media. So yeah, Dexter's talking to his victim. Yeah, I can turn the volume up a little bit, but anyway, fast forwarding a little bit. There's the blood slide. The character right now being naked. A lot of the characters actually were naked. I believe they had padding or something, but one of the actors got injured at some point or something, and I believe it was in season 2 or season 3 that the wrapping method actually had to be changed to the point where it wouldn't leave so many marks or damages on the skin of the actors who were laying down. But the first few episodes, first season, um, these people were really kind of hurt, in pain from these. Kind of paraphrasing, but like yeah. Mike. Okay, so I guess since I'm on the first episode, I'm not gonna explain every piece of music, but this was always an iconic shot when Dexter's on the boat, and now they start playing all the fun Cuban music and Dexter trying to blend in with everybody. So okay, I guess so. Every main character in Dexter represents one of the seven deadly sins. The first Dexter's deadly sin, it was gluttony, so that's why he's always eating all the time. So he was this is gluttony. And here's Harry Morgan and talking, having a flashback with Dexter. Beautiful that they use the same filming location. Heck, I might as well just sit here and watch this episode, right? But no, I can't do that because I have to get through the entire season, and I'm already 12 minutes in on the first episode. So no. Sorry, slice of life. I don't know what happened on that boat actually at the end of the show. So a lot of this was actually filmed in Malibu, California, not actually in Miami. They they did a lot of fake locations, but I believe the first episode was actually filmed in Miami actually, but the rest was in Malibu, from what I understand. There was something else I was gonna say too. Oh yes, okay. So how Dexter got this role? He actually did 6 Feet Under, and when they were doing rehearsals for characters, I can't remember who uh, the other contestants or auditioners were, but one of them was Jeremy Renner, who played Hawkeye in the Avengers movies and the Marvel movies. He did some kind of serial killer movie or TV show, and he didn't want to get caught up in the trap. So even though he was um he was chosen for the role of Dexter. He just didn't know if he can do anymore, grow anymore, or really do anything else past him already being a serial killer from his last project. So he actually denied the role of it. One of the producers or casting directors, I believe, mentioned Michael C. Hall from 6 Feet Under, that was on HBO, and they were saying, "Oh, that dude's not going to work out. He's like not a big guy. He's not, doesn't have much credentials. Like nah." So they called him in, and he did the audition. He did it, and he got it. And they were like, "Oh, he's perfect for it." Fortunately, I can't say how everyone else got their role in the show, but yeah. But this first season was based off a book by Kate Lindsay, Jeff Lindsay. Don't know where Kate came from, but Jeff Lindsay, which was an Easter egg in New Blood. I'll talk about that later. Um, this first season did a great job with really creating the atmosphere of Miami, creating a dark, bleak atmosphere, but also learning how to keep the atmosphere of happiness and joy and partying present, but out in the distance. Um, the writing and directing of the show was really great and amazing. The close-up shots bothered me after the sixth season because the show is a narrative about the Dexter's mind. So there's a lot of close-up shots of the characters' faces, and it's very claustrophobic. You don't see a lot of the filming locations, and that always bothered me. Um, I actually got through watching this movie called it was called the Organ Donor, but the title was changed to Spiral. Up and there's Jennifer Lawrence in her bikini. I forgot the story of why she was in that tiny bikini and the high heels. I think it was maybe her idea or the director's idea to have her do the scene while still in her uniform, but I completely forgot the reason why, but there was a conscious decision on set to make her wear that during this scene. Pretty sure 14's an Easter egg. Not sure what though. But anyway, I was watching this movie, The Organ Donor or Spiral now, and the DP, the photo director, the director of photography, um, he talked a lot about these lenses, these filters that you have to put on cameras that actually interact with actors' skin. So this show does a lot of that with the filtering to really give this swampy like feel to the characters to make it look like it's very hot outside and to really put that in people's minds. It's a mind trick. But again, people aren't interested in movie stuff like that, so I'm not gonna go much into that. But yeah, so here's Dexter and Deb talking. They weren't married at the time, they were together. Vince Masuka's actor just pops up. He was originally cast as a side character. He was never supposed to be a main character, and somehow he lasted as long as he did. Um, so Masuka, when he was cast, he had a laugh or something, and Masuka didn't really know how to do the laugh, so he did a laugh of his best friend and mixed it with the laugh of Beavis and Butthead to make it seem funny. So that laugh was from his best friend and from Beavis and Butthead, and he brought it together and made up the laugh as he read the script and did the laugh in the scene. He became very likable and became a main character. Um, his deadly sin, obviously, is lust. So yeah, he says, "Why are you here?" I love how Dexter says, "No blood, no trabajo." It shows that Dexter's like trying to learn Spanish to like, or yeah, to blend in. And that body, I know it's fake, so, so they say, so they supposedly say. They say that the body is fake, but it looks very real. It looks very creepy. And the cast members said that when they saw that prop of the dead body, that they actually felt creeped out by it, just by the way it looked and how it felt. It was like way too realistic. Um, okay, so right here, when you see, or as I'm watching it, it shows the body parts that are cut up, and I'm going to explain why I'm actually bringing this up in a little bit. But if you see that the body parts are wrapped up except for the legs, when you see the crotch area, it's wrapped up. And I actually saw a random post. Didn't look up anything about it, but I saw a random post that just hit me today on anatomy, and it showed the pelvic bone between the male and the female. I don't know why, but it popped up. So when I looked at it to see the internal structure, apparently to know the difference between the male and female pelvic bone is the female pelvic bone is wider at a certain spot. It's wider actually, and then it dips in, whereas the male pelvic bone dips in a lot more, and it come when it opens up at the thigh area, it's more narrow. um so I don't know if this is like a test, because I just saw that today by pure coincidence, and I'm actually seeing it now, so I don't know. um so I'm not entirely sure exactly, but again, it's wrapped up. But there's some knowledge for anyone who actually cares to look into that. So yeah, there's yeah. So as you see, Batista is here. I think Batista was actually sick. A lot of actors are sick, I noticed, but I believe Batista's character was sick, and that's kind of why he was sweating. So something along the lines of that. And Angel Batista, in real life, he was a cop. David Zayas, he was a cop. Really contributes to how he got this role. I believe Batista's. Uh, I'll need to see the list of deadly sins again. There's Lieutenant LaGuerta. I actually watched the new Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, and I saw her in there, and I was like, "Is that her?" I was like, "Nah, that's not her. There's something odd." So I looked it up, and she actually has a twin sister. So yeah, Lauren Velez actually has a twin sister, and it was her twin sister that was in Rise of the Beast, not actually her. So I feel disrespectful if I don't say her name. I don't want to say Lauren Velez's sister. There's Dexter giving donuts out to his coworkers, something I wish my coworkers would do. I love the use of black people in this show too. Okay, so how does this work? Rise. This is going to be like a 3 hour episode, huh? Well, it doesn't matter if anyone enjoys the sound of my voice. Do 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 do. Liza. Oh, Michelle Yu is or Michelle Yao. Sorry, showing all the cast members. Okay, so yeah, there it is. Luna. Luna Velez is her name. Luna Lauren Velez. Yeah, cool. So now that that's over, I can. Well, might as well look at the seven deadly sins now. So now here's Camilla and records. I don't know if Camilla was actually in the Dexter books. Pretty sure she was. Oh, Camilla. So I remember her now. So you're gonna get all the information out of me on how this show influenced a lot of personal works that I myself have done too, because this is like something years that I've wanted to do, was relay a lot of information about this show and this season, and I'm just gonna throw it all out now. So I made a show. I made a t. I made well. I made a. Sorry, that felt weird to say out loud. I made a story. Goodness, these blood pictures look disturbing. Oh wait, here's Dokes. I gotta hear Dokes real quick. Dokes is funny, but anyway, I can't be silent for that long. So a long time ago, there was a TV show called Monk with Some actor. I'm not gonna look him up. I'm sorry. Gosh, that Dokes is so funny. Dokes' introduction is just perfect. But the reason why Dokes is so aggressive in the scene, which no one really cares enough to actually figure out why or think about why, but Dokes is trying to say, hey, we need to be stern on this. Whenever I look at it, I know what I'm doing. I know my job. I know how to do my job right. And it seems like whenever I'm 100% clear about what I'm doing, what I know, Dexter has some blood that contradicts it, and the person gets away. Which, of course, when Dexter does that, he does it on purpose. That way, he can catch killers. So he falsifies the blood evidence so that he can capture people. Well, that makes Dokes feel like, I'm not stupid. I know how to do my job right. So that's what that point was about, was the fact that Dexter does that often, and Dokes is the only person who really embodies suspicion. I'm gonna get a little bit more into the mindset of the characters and what they actually represent for Dexter, because the show, each character is actually a psychological representation of the Dexter character himself. But I'll kind of get more into that later. So I said Masuka was lust, Dexter was gluttony, Wrath is Dokes, and uh, what is his name? Batista. I believe Batista is envy. No, no, no. I think, and there he goes eating again, eating and driving. Um, I do know that LaGuerta is greed. I don't remember if I don't remember Jamie Jaworski. Wow, Dexter killed two people in this episode. I think Deb is envy because she's always trying to get that next spot. She's always trying to. But yeah, and so I believe Batista was pride. I can't see him as being greedy. But yeah, and of course Rita Sloth. But anyway, okay, so there was a show called Monk. And in this show, it was about an obsessive compulsive detective, and it was because this detective had a mental thing going on that made him have this unique superpower that made him a good detective. And I loved the correlation between Monk and Dexter, and mentally what that meant. There was also so what I'm never gonna do a thing about Monk. I'm never gonna do that. So for anyone who cares about this backstory, I watched season 2 of Monk first on DVD, and I just fell in love with it. So now here comes Dexter breaking into a house. They let the dogs out, and apparently that dog actually almost got him in rehearsal. Uh oh, someone's calling me. Um, Hold on. Okay, is it continuing? Okay, I believe it's continuing. Okay, awesome. I've never really answered a phone call in the middle of these recordings. Wasn't sure how that was gonna turn out. I lost my space on Dexter, but I know that I was saying I was watching season 2 of Monk, and then I watched the first season of Dexter, and I really loved the correlation of I just loved the shows. So um with some of the influence that I got from Dexter, I wrote Hanru Suzuki. Um, I believe I was in middle school when I wrote that. I believe early middle. Yeah, because yeah. When I started Hanru Suzuki, it started off different from how it was actually written. Originally, it had a different story altogether, and um, watching Dexter helped give me perspective on what that story could really become, and it became what it is now. I have actually have 5 books written about it, I believe. None of them were published at the time that we're talking. Um, they've been there for over a decade, almost 16 years. Those stories have just been sitting, but I should probably release them. So, Camilla, I've said that because Camilla's character in the show was actually in my story. I made a character based off Camilla and gave her the same name, and I believe she was the receptionist at one of the hospitals. I didn't want to fully copy this idea. I wanted the story to have its own identity, so I ended up getting rid of Camilla's character, and I killed her off similar to how she died in season 3 of Dexter. Um, yeah, so I ended up killing her off right very early on. And now here's Dexter talking about sex. And there he is eating again, eating ice cream, which does sound good. I'm used to watching movies on my PS5, and I keep exiting out. Yeah, intimacy is always a weird thing, and I loved how this show tackled the idea of it. And Dexter's like, yeah, I don't get it. Weeda. So he says that she's just as damaged as he is. Yeah. I love Rita because every season that she's in, she's her makeup is done differently, and she's just different. Every season, the characters, I don't know, it's like they take on different personalities. Dexter and Rita do, and of course, this kid that plays Cody was replaced. I forgot in what season he was replaced in, but that's not the Cody that we see in the future seasons is not the same. It's not the same kid. I think a lot of people can really relate to Dexter's character, especially like for guys who are stepfathers. So of course, one of the bigger things about Dexter is the law of attraction. Also, this first record, I'm already 33 minutes in. I'm still in the first episode. Well, there's a lot to kind of explain because the first season, I'm having to explain a lot of the boundaries of what Dexter means, the foundation of what Dexter means. So it's like, so yeah, so there's a lot of, so there a lot of it also is law of attraction. There's a lot of universal or scientific laws that are embedded into this show. I'm not going to go through all of them because I don't think anyone really cares. But from the artistic point of view, one of them is this sense that as Dexter evolves, so do some of the characters around him. The characters around him sort of take on different meanings. Um, the strangeness of the first episode of the first season of Dexter. Dexter, there's a lot of weird things. Dexter looks at social events and things as they're weird. That also shows how he himself is actually the weird one, disconnected. And yeah, here's the police in Miami. Miami, there's a lot of bad things going on, so you're not gonna shut down the whole party just for a crime scene. Like, so this scene shows. this transition shows Dexter's um, keeping his life separate. The actress who actually plays Rita forgot what the show was about. Some of the actors forgot what the show was about because they're not involved with the serial aspect of the show at all. So a lot of times the actors actually forgot that the show was about a serial killer, and Rita was one of them because she was never really involved in that story arc. So of course, why was there a random body put here, of all places, at this time? Of course, the killer is stalking Dexter's schedule, so he knew Dexter was going to be there at that party, and he wanted Dexter to go check it out. So now, um, Dexter was very fascinated. Dexter is very fascinated by what he saw and the idea of mutilating these dead bodies and how they were cut up really does trigger a sense of intimacy within his character. And intimacy plays a very big part in PTSD. So, as Dexter is with Rita in the car after their party, he looks at her thigh and he starts to get a type of arousal or sexual connection because he has this subconscious connection with her, which is something that, a lot of us can have, where we like somebody, we love them, and we know that we have a connection with them, but there's no intimate connection there. Or sometimes there is an intimate connection there, but there's no external connection, so vice versa, things like that. So Dexter, the most intimate part of who Dexter was, which was his dark side and his PTSD, is what was connected, is what he was what was triggered in him, and someone who he liked was there, and it kind of those dots kind of connected. So intimacy is very much so about the depth of a person. It's not always what society or what the world makes it out to be. All right, so this right here, this Scream B word Scream website, not a real website, but there is a lot of dark elements of the first episode of Dexter, which is there was some pedophilia going on, there was some rape going on, there was some drugs, there's some terrible things going on. Well, the very first season, the very first book of Dexter had a lot of those elements built in to the creation of the book. So a lot of those darker elements are meant to trigger a darker side. And also by releasing the worst of the worst from the very beginning, then your mind is kind of desensitized. So once you start going forward in the story, it's not as bad. You like, okay, it's not that bad. Got your mental vaccination. So this footage that Dexter is seeing is again a foreshadow of season 5, a major plot point of season 5. So now here's you just kill animals. Are you sure? So with Dexter Original Sin coming out, I'm actually very excited. I'm very excited to learn about more of how they're going to tackle on that. That whole dynamic between the father and the son, and how Harry worked with Dexter and his urges. With Christian Slater plays Harry, which is which is basically he already did in another TV show called Mr. Robot, which is basically the same as Dexter. It's just different in a parallel universe. But Christian Slater basically played the exact same role that Harry did for Dexter throughout the series. So the fact that Christian Slater was chosen to play in Dexter Original Sin creates a really weird parallel circle, between him as a character, as an actor. But yeah. So one thing I do have to say when when Harry is talking to Dexter in this flashback, Harry said something that really stuck with me for my entire life, which was, when you do kill a person, you're not just taking their life, you're not just killing them, you're taking their life away. You're taking away all that they can be. You're taking away all the potential of what they can become. You're taking away their chance to be better. You're cutting the evolution of who they are short. That really did stick with me a lot because we do that in society where we see somebody and they're in a bath, they're in at a bad point in their journey, and we say, hey, we're gonna judge your entire character and who you are based on where you're at right now in your journey. And it's like sometimes these people are going through the mud before they come out of this hell, before they become a butterfly. They're just in their dark cocoon right now. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's like it's like a caterpillar turns into the cocoon and then saying, "Oh, that's it. They're a cocoon," and then you crush the cocoon and you kill them before they find their revelation. I always made sure that I didn't harshly judge people and that I understood that every bad part of a person, or maybe not every bad part, but a lot of the bad things that they do, a lot of the dark expressions they have, some bad feelings they may have about themselves, certain insecurities or whatever. Sometimes it's just them going through a process of them becoming a master of something bigger. And you can never become the master of your own life until you've experienced both the bad and the good of a journey. And I really learned that really just hit me a lot of, when you're taking away what a person can become. And that's one thing that always bothered me about this show too is, what if there were people who could get help, which was foreshadowed in season 6 of Dexter with um Most Def's character, which father man, he's one of my favorite characters. Can't remember his name. Brother Sam. So yeah, so here's Dexter and Deb talking. I'm gonna skip through this. I'm gonna skip through a lot of it. Yeah. So here's Dexter being supportive. And then there's Dokes. I love Dokes. And Lauren Velez has a huge crush on Dexter. So of course Dexter's gonna play the role of that. He's very manipulative. But what did I say LaGuerta was? I think I said she was Pride. Or Greed. Oh no, yeah, she's Greed. No, actually. Well, I don't know, because both LaGuerta and Deb give off signs of greed and envy. So I don't know, between those three characters, I'm not entirely sure exactly, because LaGuerta always wants someone's position, and then Deb is always like wanting, I guess, the glory of things, which is a correlation of her dad. But and then Batista is very much so trying to be the right guy. So I could see him as a prideful person. So yeah, I guess Batista would be pride, Deb would be would be greed, and LaGuerta would be envy. She's always trying to tear someone down to get what they have. So yeah. All right, so let me go ahead and fast forward some more. Fast forward a lot. They talk about this game called Cat's Cradle. Maybe I should play that one day. This scene where Dexter runs out the shadow with the tape around his face and stabs a dude. I thought that was just funny. I was just like, yeah, Dexter's probably just bored because Dexter was pretty crazy in these old episodes. Oh, heads up! Sorry, I have to throw a head joke in there somehow. There's the ice truck, and Dexter follows it, and there's the head. So, so now this idea of Rita going through this journey now of I had a boyfriend of Dexter wanted made a sexual move on her now, and now she's like, oh snap, well, maybe I can do something to try and prepare for this moment, or try and this is something that's being introduced into our relationship now. How how do you kind of explore it? That's a sanctity. That's something that's very you know she doesn't want to lose Dexter, as she says. She doesn't want to lose him, so there's that pressure there of, maybe he wants sex, but she's like, I don't want to lose you. I do care about you. At the same time, I don't know if sex is something that you want, but it's something I'm not ready for. But it's something that she tried to make herself ready for. And creating that comfort sometimes is a reassurance of, okay, there's a boundary or there's like a border that I can kind of get out the way, and maybe we can try and make this happen. Maybe we can explore this some more. Um, they're both in the same space right now of this idea of intimacy being a reality for them on a physical level, but like trying to get there is very difficult. And the reason why I'm explaining all of this right now is not to bore you or to babble on. It's because the show Dexter is really about the missing components, the missing elements within the human mind, and Dexter being this empty vessel of nothingness, and how he grows from being this psychotic, empty, devoted human, and how he finds humanity through the interactions. The show really shows the journey of becoming human. At least the first four seasons were, and the fifth season kind of was there, but then after that, the show kind of destroyed what it meant to be human and how to dehumanize a human. By the end of the show, Dexter was left empty as he was in the first season. So, at least the first 4 or 5 seasons were about becoming human. So, trying to let me make sure it's still recording. Yes, still recording. So, this journey, this hardship that they're going through right now with intimacy and everything, it's something a lot of us went through or kind of go through, but in today's time in society, it's hard to walk through a journey like this because we're told what sexuality is, we're told what sex is, we're told what intimacy is, and there is no working through things anymore or trying to figure it out. There's just, hey, you're a victim, or you're suppressed, or you're not sexually liberated within yourself and you need to fix it. There is no sense of journey, self discovery of what it means to explore these intense emotions. And that's what being human is about. It is about exploring these things and being in situations and moments like this where you do feel contradicted or you do feel torn apart, or your mind is trying to work through what feels bad, what feels good, what do we need to feel and embody, what do we need to feel and release, what do we need to feel and put on the back burner, what do we need to feel right now just to be aware of, so in the future when we have more better emotional or mental tools, how can we fix it, or and then come back to this situation that we felt before that's on the back burner, and then how can we deal with it in a proper way. um, Sometimes we become aware of certain issues that we have, and we don't have the tools or the experience to deal with it in a healthy way. And we really do pressure ourselves about that. And it's important not to do that. Sorry. It's important not to do that. It's important to understand that sometimes we don't have the tools right now to properly have a healthy boundary or foundation with whatever it is inside of us that we struggle with or that we fight with. So, having intimacy issues with a partner is normal because nowadays, what intimacy is, what sex is, what this is, what that is this a physical, clear image or a physical image or picture that's just thrown in our face that this is how it is. And once we don't know how to get there, it's because we still have a sense of authenticity of what intimacy is within us and connectivity is within us. Um, there were times when there would be couples kissing, they'd be like, "Oh, there's a kiss," and there were times when I felt weird about that, and sometimes, I maybe would have to kiss a girl, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this because it feels like if I was connecting with this person authentically, would the urge to put my lips across theirs be something that my mind conjures up within itself? Or is it just that I've been fed the solution or a formula of if I feel this way, then that means this kiss should happen? So that's always got me growing up, especially as a child when I was a little kid, when I was younger, that kissing didn't feel like an authentic thing that I myself would do to express intimacy with my partner. And it just felt like it was just a painted picture for me. So yeah, whenever there are intimate emotions or feelings or thoughts that are coming up, it's important to go through the journey of understanding what these things are in a good way. Don't go around killing people, but finding a good way to express them. It doesn't hurt anybody. It doesn't make you feel bad about yourself. And I had to get that out the way because, like I said, there is a one-time thing when I'm doing these commentaries. When I'm doing these commentaries, that's it. What I have to say about this, about the topic, about the subject, it is what it is, and then I move on to the next project. So I'm going to make the most that I can of this information that I'm relaying, and for those who are willing to listen, awesome. I'm fast forwarding through the episodes, which is why I'm babbling also. But enough about that topic. Cool. Episode 2. Do, 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 do. Probably could have just paused the recording. This is, I believe, the first time we see the opening credits of Dexter. The opening. I'm not going to talk about Original Sin, but oh, executive producer Clyde Phillips. I want to meet him one day. I want to meet Clyde Phillips and say, hey, I have a script for Dexter New Blood for season 2 idea. Please take it. Let me be a writer. All right, so we're gonna cut through episode 2. Of course, the actors look older because whenever you watch a TV show, the first episode is usually filmed and sent off to the studios. If the studios like it, they're like, okay, there's potential here. And after they review it and the studio and a channel picks it up, then they say, cool, we've been picked up and we're going to go ahead with the show. So when that happens, um, then usually, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to hit my microphone like that. Usually when that happens, that means that they have the okay to make more episodes. So they usually come back months later, sometimes even a year later, to continue the show. So with almost every single TV show that you watch, the first episode is usually filmed a year before the rest of the show. So that's why sometimes actors will look older or the energy of the show would look different compared to the first episode. So here's one of Dexter's first victims in episode 2. I want to bring up this actor because he was in HBO's True Blood as Sam, the bartender. I don't want to give any spoilers on what his whole story was, but bartender. So that was cool when I saw him. All right, skipping more. Oh, Dexter's got blood on him. Oh yeah, I bet Dexter hates having blood all over him. Yeah. Oh yeah. So here's all the drama between the cops and everything. How do you do a cop comedy and a copedy? Yeah, it didn't work out. It sounded better in my head. But a cop dramedy. How do you keep it going? Okay, so with most of the characters in this scene right here, so um, so each character in the series of Dexter represents something, and I'm going to kind of go more into that as I do my other episodes of future seasons. But this season, or yeah, I guess the first season, we have Batista, which actually represents Dexter's goodness, the good nature of who Dexter is, the good nature of that parallel, Dexter having a good nature to himself. Dexter himself, the name Dexter, is more of like the vessel of who Dexter's character is like an unnamed empty character, and Dexter is more of the dark passenger, or not so much the dark passenger, but more of like an embodied sense of like darkness between this empty and unnamed character and where the dark passenger meets. He is more of a translucent, transparent character, and I say that because of what happens in New Blood. But again, if I ever do a review of New Blood, then I will explain that way in the future. But the character of Dexter is more of Dexter is a crossroad of a darkness and also a human that is unnamed. Um, so yeah, Batista's the good side. Masuka is more of the sexual, goofy side, the funny side of who he is. And of course, Dokes is a representation of getting caught. You can say LaGuerta is more of like a trial of desperation of trying to get somewhere. But yeah, and Dokes' character represents I guess authority. That'd be more of authority or something. I don't know. But Dokes' character represents Dexter getting caught. Um so this idea of Dexter as a serial killer getting captured by the police department that is what Dokes' character represents for the overarchy of the show. And LaGuerta, I don't have a clear answer right now for LaGuerta because I can't think straight right now at the moment. All right, how long have I been? 1 hour. Wow, 1 hour in. Yeah, so Dexter's the kids. The kids are whatever. They're more of a innocence of a child. Rita represents the human side, the lights, the brightness, the joy, that godly sense of intimacy that Dexter has with life itself. Rita is the embodiment of that within his mind. So Rita represents everything that is family, everything that is, and I know there's a correlation between Batista, but it's more like the imagery of being seen as like a good guy or righteous guy, whereas Rita is more of like embodying intimacy and life and love and nurturing. So that is what the Rita character represents for Dexter. Now the reason why I'm explaining what each of these characters mean and represent, because as the show progresses, whenever these characters get written off the show, oh, and then of course Deb represents humanity. So she's Deb represents humanity, which again goes into the how. Anyway, so Deb represents humanity. So the reason why I'm bringing all this up is because each of these characters represents something for the show, and each time the character got written off, that element of the show was also taken away. And that's why the show's energy drastically changed so much in so many different ways. Um, Shows such as Attack on Titan, um, Mr. Robot, a little bit of Weeds, and Game of Thrones did that exact same thing, where each character would actually represent something as a whole that was a part of the main character's psyche, and each character getting killed off was actually representation of the main character losing that part of himself or themselves as a character. Um, Here's Dexter. So there's them trying to be more intimate again, and it's okay. We're not ready. We don't gotta force it. It'll organically happen. That's how it is. Whenever That's how it is. You gotta just let things be organic. That's what intimacy is truly about. So yeah, the main theme of this show is establishing Dexter as a character. That is the main theme of this season. So you know what? Why don't I just actually? I can just pause this, or I can just stop my recording and come back, because the last two points I want to make, the last 2 points I want to make about this show is the Jeremy character. So the actor who played Jeremy, oh yeah, there's Dexter having to be a tough guy for his girlfriend. I love that they didn't just make Dexter be a tough guy and just kick this dude in the face and be like, "Yo, get out of here." There was actually like a mental barrier there, and I love that that was put there, because it's like, well, when you are a girl, when you're a woman who's been through so much abuse, how do you handle these messed up things that your ex person has put you through, and the remnants of that existing in your relationship. The idea of that is whenever you connect with a person or you're in a relationship with somebody, when you connect with them and you start to build an intimate bond with them, what you won't realize, what we don't realize is when you start bonding together, whatever is in that other person's heart, what that other person has been through, it starts to bleed into your existence. And what happens is your worlds actually literally start colliding. Now, on paper, everyone can say, well, obviously, duh, but what that means energetically, or what that means from a slightly different point of view, is when you guys start lowering boundaries, and once your energies start coming together, whatever your everything that is physical around us, is physical around you, is a manifestation, a physical manifestation of something you're going through inside. And what happens is when you connect with somebody, whatever that physical manifestation is, it actually starts to happen to that other person, and vice versa. They things that they go through start happening to you. And whatever that translation is from internal feeling to physical manifestation is, it starts to bleed into each other's lives, and you start going through these trials, and things start getting out of control. They start getting crazy, and everyone's all like, "Oh," or everyone's like, "Hey, this person is crazy, and they are full with all this drama, and they're going through all this, and I hate this person and that person, and I have this insecurity and this." It's like, nah, it's not so much as that. It's the idea. It's the fact that what you're feeling inside and what you're attracting and what you create is starting to remanifest within this new partner. The closer you guys are going to get to each other, the more you're going to have to deal with each other's baggage energetically. So once you start being intimate with a bunch of random people and you start taking on all these random people's habits and stuff like that, then you just lose yourself and just become a byproduct of all these partners you've been with. A lot of people don't believe in that, but it is it's true. Um, it's true. It is. So now we see that Dexter and Rita are trying to have a more intimate bond with each other, and by doing that, by doing that, now they're starting to get a taste of what intimacy is to one another. So now Dexter's starting to feel what she goes through in her life with her ex boyfriend, and like, well, opened up that door, so it is there now. The last two things I wanna kind of, that was in season 7, that little place, but whatever. The other thing last two things I want to give up about this season. There's some prostitutes. Those were actually real hookers that were hired for this show. Um, they were real prostitutes that they got, but we don't go there. Oh, and the story of how Dexter killed his first victim, the nurse. So this character right here, Jeremy. Oh, the crocodile. So when Dexter's walking in this scene, this is episode 3 of season 1. When he's walking and this alligator or crocodile screams at him, and he runs away. He smacks his head on a tree. That was unscripted. That really did accidentally happen. So that really did hit his head on that tree. He confirmed it. He's confirmed it. I don't want to get into the whole thing of every person that Dexter's killed was actually him killing off a potential of what he could be or potential of what he could do. The symbolisms of Dexter's victims, I don't want to get involved into that too much because that goes into way too much of a lore and way too much of a psyche, way too much of trying to explain things. Of There's just way too much. Most of the time, most of the people that Dexter kills, most of the people that he kills are are like people that he wouldn't kill, paths that he wouldn't go down as a serial killer. So the first victim that he killed in the first season was showing that Dexter would never harm a child or he would never kill a child. So that was like an example of that. Season four, Dexter was having a hard time dealing with his family. And it was an episode with this cop lady who killed her family. And I guess when I get to that season, I'll talk about that. But right here, so in this season, I want to talk about Jeremy. This actor who played Jeremy in Dexter also played an actor, Jeremy, who had the same issues and the same problems in the TV show called Heroes. He had the same actor who had the same name. In Heroes, he was in season 4, 2010, and his ability was that whenever he touched people, they would die. What he didn't realize is that when he touched people, he could also heal them. Before he could have a chance to really explore that ability, a fate happened with him, and everyone looked at him like he was a witch. And he was like, "No, but I can heal people too. I can't just kill them." And they were like, "No, destroy it." So I just thought that was interesting. I believe, yeah. So yeah, just a thing there. So of course, you talk about restrictions, and this is the first restriction: is when Dexter killed that character in the very first episode. The fact that he wouldn't kill a kid, that right there created the first restriction that Dexter would not harm a child. So now we get to this episode with Jeremy. And we've already established that he cannot kill Jeremy because the symbolism of killing his first victim in the first episode symbolized him not being able to kill the kid. That also comes into play in season 6 when he meets Jonas, I believe his name was Jonah Mitchell, where he can't really deal with him in a way. So he has to leave him to fend for himself. But so now that Dexter meets this kid, it's like, okay, so now he can't kill a kid, but this kid is a killer. So how does he deal with this now, knowing what he knows? So then that kind of gets into this storyline of maybe I can take him on as an apprentice, or I can teach him, which later on goes down the line of the Miguel storyline in season 3. This also correlates because Dexter is a series about mental issues, about uh, uh, mental disabilities that people go through, as well as being abused, physically abused, of being raped, of having Stockholm syndrome, of being molested as a child. A lot of those elements of mental trauma is a huge representation in the show. It also is about how the biggest traumas that we've been through translates into how we are intimate with people and how it affects our relationships with people. Dexter killing individuals is him actually trying to reach out and find connection. He only knows how to find connection through death. And it's just him trying to reach out to being with his mom again and being just having that sense of love. And the only thing Dexter knows when it comes to connecting with people is through death and killing them. And that was one of the bigger lessons or things that bigger meanings behind Dexter's line in season 2 of when he killed one of his victims in the last episode of season 2, and he said, you want it to be connected with me or feel close to me. This is the best that I have to offer." So another thing is, okay, cool. This episode's done. I'm getting through this pretty fast. How long have I been recording? 114. one episode 114, or I'm on at 114. I'm on episode 4. Yeah, I'm episode 4. So also in this episode, Rita is trying to make a lemon tree, and that is her trying to break her trauma and trying to do something loving and something bigger to connect with her family. Um, Trying to create a sense of life and beauty. I understand that personally. I that's why I garden myself. I understand that too. Um, but that is a symbolism of her trying to create something beautiful and grow. And as you start to find, as you start to want to better yourself in life and find happiness within yourself, and you start doing things that make you happy, you're going to notice that people around you are going to start to treat you different, or circumstances might happen, or bad things may start to happen to you because you're starting to better yourself. That is normal because you are experiencing the blockages that are stopping you from being happy. The physical things that are happening to you are just physical representations of what you are actually already feeling inside. And you are just physically feeling out what is already inside of your, what is already going on within you. I don't want to sound like I'm some spiritual, person on YouTube or anything like that. I'm trying not to go there. Um, X marks the spot. Um, but yeah, so honestly, I think for the rest of the show, I may, oh, it's Halloween. So now here's the neighbor. And now the idea is okay, now that Dexter's dealing with a problem, now that there's a problem, how do we deal with this? Now, there's been people who've had anger issues that are like, oh, this person pisses me off. This person angers me. And if this was me, I would have, this was the old me, I would have done this, This episode really kind of gives an idea of when someone is pushing your buttons, when someone just knows how to really bother you, how exactly are you going to deal with it? And physical violence, killing them, things like that is not it's not the answer. So, Dexter's really trying to do the cool approach, and yeah, so now that Dexter is starting to grow as a human, now Dexter is starting to feel a sense of intimacy, and or I'm sorry, of life now. Of Dexter is now becoming that lemon tree. He is now feeling it within himself that he is starting to enjoy life, and he's actually starting to feel like, oh, life is good. He may not be aware of it, but within him, he's starting to feel it now. And as that's unraveling, it's unraveling within his partner now. So a lot of these issues that he's dealing with, which is this neighbor with this loud yappy dog, and episode 4, season 1. Yep, episode 4. Dealing with this yappy dog. Now Dexter is forced to deal with this idea of how do you deal with problems without making them, without just forcing it, without physically doing it, without hurting someone, without doing something extreme. How do you deal with this thing on a very simplistic level? And when you try to do the right thing or the nice thing, these people are going to try and walk all over you. So it's like, okay, I can't be mean and punch them in the mouth, punch them in the face. I can't be nice to them and talk to them like a human being. So how do I deal with it? So this episode really goes a little bit into analyzing the situation and really putting the bully at hand in their place. Sorry, I had to take a drink. I'm surprised I haven't been coughing this whole time. Oops, did not mean to do that. Yeah, I probably should just pause and just kind of do a conclusion. So yeah, this is the Halloween episode of Dexter. I would love to watch this whole show and just comment as I'm watching it. So now we have remnants of Dexter, remnants of Dexter's past, and Dexter playing soccer. Dokes, and here's Rita. Yeah, so they're really trying to deal with this bully right now, and again, Dexter and Rita. It's important that Dexter and Rita go through these journeys together within their relationship because of what they symbolize, for the overall archy of the show, the entity of Dexter. Like I said, Dexter's more of an entity, a consciousness, and all of these characters are being played out in its head. I don't want to say his head because Dexter, the character, is actually a player for Dexter, the entity itself. Which is very, this is the one that I want to identify as the most. A lot of these cops that you see in the background have been involved in the show. They've been involved in the show for many years. They pop in and out of the show. A lot of them disappear, but a lot of them stick around for the whole thing. Gosh, I remember when I first watched Dexter. I remember when I first watched. Actually, don't remember. I don't know. I don't know when I actually watched the first season of Dexter, but oh, I love that Dexter's a double entendre, or whatever you want to call it. Dexter's always talking with himself and expressing himself through how he's talking to other characters. And Deb is calling him on the phone. She's like, "Dexter, I need your help on this." And Dexter's like, "I don't know what to do on this one, Deb. I just don't know what's going on." And he's not even talking about her. He's talking about his own issue, was trying to figure out why this picture was left for him through the ice truck killer, and he's trying to figure out what this clue means. Deb thinks that he's talking about her. That is a symptom of sight. The word psychopathy comes to mind. I don't even know if that's a word, and if it is a word, if what it means, but that word comes to mind. Psychopathy. Um, don't know what I was saying before I rudely interrupted myself. Dexter pretending to have fun at the pumpkin patch. Right, this is the Halloween episode, and Halloween is coming up. So I guess, yeah, wait, did the filter just change? Yeah, there is a there is a filtering error in episode 4 of season 1 of Dexter. There is a filter. There's two different color filters that hit the camera. Dexter's in the back of this truck at the pumpkin patch, and it's lighter, and it shows the wedding ring or Batista's ring or whatever, his apology necklace or something. And when it goes back to Dexter and Batista talking, the filter is darker. So yeah, Batista's trying to fix being unloyal, disloyal. Loyalty, that goes more. I don't want to get too much into that because you have Batista who represents righteousness, in a sense. Not self righteousness, but righteousness in a sense. And but that also goes into a sense of disloyalty, which bleeds into the Miguel character in season 3. And like I said, if trying to connect the dots of what every single character represents in the show to Dexter, that will take hours and hours and hours to explain. So I'm just trying to keep it very simple and very vague. So as you see now, one person's trash can be another person's treasure. So they analyzed the situation, Dexter and Rita, and now they found a way to fix the dog situation. And sometimes people need a taste of their own medicine. Sometimes you do what you gotta do. And sometimes giving people love is, man, I love season one of Dexter. I'm going to pause my recording so I can fast forward and refill my Mountain Dew. My ice melted. Okay, okay, it's recording. Not gonna lie, I actually got a little bit emotional just now. I got very emotional just now when I was sipping my drink. What this episode is about right now, what I'm talking about, the subject I was talking about, is kind of, I can kind of, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it right now in this point in my life. I'm feeling a little bit of it. And as I was pouring my drink and listening and just looking at my recorder, and I was like, this is somewhere I feel like I belong. And sometimes life gets so distracting, and it's hard to really find that feeling of, hey, this is where I belong. And it it sucks when we get so distracted by so many things, and we don't know how to be human or make ourselves happy, and we just go through life as zombies, and then we just die before we've even had a chance to live. Sometimes the only moment that we feel alive is that moment when we die and we think about everything that we've been through in life, and we're like, thinking back on my life now, and that's the only chance we have to live. And that's heartbreaking. It's sad. It's like a mental claustrophobic type feel. But I was just really looking at my cup, and and I was like, wow, I feel good. Nothing in the world matters. I feel that this is what's important. I'm not crying, just my nose is stuffy right now. I didn't even fast forward because I got to this next part, and Lorita is dressed up like Laura Croft. It's important to it's very important that, so you have to know that whenever there's a bad situation, you can't stay stuck in those low points in life. There's a difference between a hard, hard lock, traumatic, dark thing and being stuck in negativity and going through a trial. There are different layers to those things. When we're going through a trial and we're like at a, man, this is an issue going on right now, and I have to figure this out, and just having to get to a point where you have to learn how to overcome that. Well, when you get to a point where you feel good about yourself, when you feel accomplished, that you feel like you have more control of your life, that is important, especially when it comes to intimate relationships. And there's a very powerful theme of intimacy in this season of Dexter. So, of course, we're going to be talking a lot about intimacy. Um, but it's very important to feel like you have control over your life, that you have control over the things that you feel like you don't have control over, whether it's like trying to protect somebody, protect your kids, protect something that's valuable to you. Once you feel like you're really in control and the best parts of you can dictate the outcome of a situation, then you find a very strong level of confidence within yourself. Once you find that, then you can really connect deeper on a deeper level with other people. Um, Intimacy is not always just about depth or going in deeper. It is about manifesting life. It is about releasing that chaos or releasing it in such an explosive way. You know, like how a flower blooms. Um, yeah, intimacy can be water mixing with the seed underneath the dirt in darkness, but and I don't want to go that far. Intimacy can be between the water and the seed, but intimacy could also be the blooming of the flower. I should probably write that down for. I should write that one down. So Rita's here, and now she's dressed as Laura Croft, which was funny. I actually picked that up right away the first time I watched this. That's what I was saying. When I first watched this show, Dexter, I watched it completely out of order. For whatever reason, whenever I watch a show, whenever I watch a show, mm, mm, Deb is funny. Well, whenever I watch a show, I always catch it right before the show starts to go downhill. I remember when I first watched not Attack on Titan, Game of Thrones. I watched it at like the season 7 finale or something, and I was like, "Oh man, this is a crazy show." And I watched the rest of the show, and I was like, "Oh, it was just that I guess this stuff happens later, or like the whole zombies whatever." I was like, oh, this isn't like in the first part of the show at all. But anyway, then season 8 came out and it was like boop, best show ever. Went downhill, and that went for a lot of things. As soon as I started getting into the show, the ratings of the overall show just start going downhill. I caught Dexter when season 4 started. So right after season 4 is when the show started losing its ratings. Um, so yeah, I always get into a show and it starts to suck, and I was like, man, I started getting into Heroes around like season 2, and then season 3 went down. But anyway, why am I even bringing all that up? Oh, because watch season 4. I like Deb in season 1. This pale skin vampire Deb. I like her. I just loved her skin tone. I love that skin tone. Oh, anniversary. So I remember watching the 4th season and the end of the 3rd season. I think I seen the end of the 3rd season first when I watched Dexter, then season 4, and then I believe I watched yes, and then I watched season 1, and then I watched season 2. Um, Season 1, I found it on DVD. Um, um, I don't remember when I found season 1 on DVD, but I found it. And I remember watching this first season, and it was interesting. It was very interesting watching this show, and I can't recall any memories right now. I don't know why. It feels like my memory just got sucked through a black hole as I was trying to remember. But as I was watching this first season, I can't remember anything about it. Angel of Mercy. All right, and here's Dokes. Here's the dude getting his body parts cut up. Cool. Now I'm on season 5. Look at this. What am I on? 1 minute, 1 hour and 34 minutes, and I'm actually almost halfway done. Almost halfway done with the show. Sorry, I meant to say. Oops, sorry. I meant to say episode 5, almost halfway done with the season, not the show. So the last 4 or 5 minutes, it turns out my recorder was not working. So I'm glad that I double checked because I would have been going and going, and I would have to go back and fix a lot. So I have to kind of go back and see where I left off at, and I have to keep my eye on this just to make sure I don't make a mistake like that again. So let me see. I said at the end of my recording, I said I was at episode 5. So what I cut out, oh, there's an introduction of Rudy. Okay, I'm just gonna start the whole episode over again and just skip through it really fast. Oh yeah, I was talking about um Noakes and how funny he is as a character. He was talking to the prostitute. Okay, so so I said a lot of stuff. The main thing I said was Harry when he got his job. Sorry, excuse me. He was doing a lot of television shows and movies that didn't do too well, and he played a cop. Too Fast, Too Furious, things like that. And what happened was when he read the script for the show, he really liked it. Um, testing. Okay. I was just talking about Harry and um heard something, and I took a break and decided to eat dinner and everything. So I'm actually it's like I think about 15 seconds have passed for you guys, but for me, about 2 hours have passed. Um, Something was very odd about a message that I had, a talk I had with my best friend, with someone close to me. I thought it was an amazing conversation, and I thought it was just amazing, and I thought that it was such an emotional talk, and we were talking about support and the future, just a bunch of stuff, and I thought that um, our relationship basically went to the next level. Like, yeah, I guess it's the next step or whatever. I thought it was just growing, and I was like, wow, that was one of the deepest conversations we've ever had, and the fact that we continue to grow amazed me, and I was very happy. I was very happy the last few days. And something felt kind of weird yesterday. I was just thinking about it. And then today I woke up and then I was looking at my phone and I was just thinking about it. And I was like, wait a minute. And I thought about this other crush that I had a while back. And I tried to support her. I tried to support them. I tried to support her. And anyway, this is about Dexter, not my personal life. But while I was gone, I was thinking about that message. And I was like, hey, wait a minute, was I reading this wrong the whole time? So I went back and looked at the message, and I think she was actually telling me goodbye. And this whole time I thought we were getting closer. And so I tried to send a message, it didn't go through. So I sent another message and it didn't go through, and it showed that my messages were blocked from incoming. So even the first message that I sent never went through. And I went to check to see if she even still had the iPhone active, and her iPhone wasn't active, her iMessage wasn't active, and her social media was deleted. Um, so yeah, I've been a little disoriented mentally. I'm gonna finish this for Dexter, and like I said, whatever I say, it goes on the on there. Um, what I'm feeling right now, I feel like is important because when it comes, I'm talking a lot about intimacy, and especially with this show and psychological intimacy. So I bring that story up not just out of random or a ramble, but also because in reference, just communication is very difficult, is important. But then at the same time, how do you know when to communicate? That's and what to get across and things like that. Yeah, just when you feel like I don't know what to say to this, and I feel like I can't say anything, so I guess I just have to move on from it. Sorry if I wasted your time for the last few minutes. Right here, Dexter is, and see now is someone passed away, and now Dexter is like, I don't care, I don't know who this person was, and Rita is like nurturing, and Dexter doesn't have that. So that is creating a wedge between the two. So now it's like, how do you how do you really how do you really connect with that? And sometimes you just gotta show love where it needs to be shown love. Um yeah, so now Dexter is trying to, now it's a flashback. This girl is asking Dexter out on a date, and he's like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And now there's a disconnection there between I don't understand what that means when someone likes me or cares about me. And sometimes it's good to go for it. See where it goes, see where it leads. It's very easy for the mind to say it's going to lead to somewhere bad. Just go for it. Go for it. Have a good time. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy the present moment. And see what happens. See what they have to offer. I'm going to skip all of this. I can't mentally. I can't do this. I can't do the rest of this recording right now, but I have to finish it. So now in this scene, we have the introduction of, I cannot remember, Rudy. Rudy, yes, yes, Rudy. And he's looking at his patient, double entendre patient, because he's the killer that cut him up, but he's also the doctor who's trying to patch him up. And it's funny. There's a little dark humor there, but the guy who got his limbs removed, he when you go through a tragedy, sometimes it's good to have as much confidence as you can and to go for it and to just embrace the best of life that you can. There are times when sometimes you don't really have a choice but to find your own happiness. There are times when happiness just does not come to individuals. I do remember writing something similar to that. Never came to fruition, never happened, but it was in the draft of a story where a character was trying to help another character, and during the process, sorry, I just got a long text from a group chat, and Trying to make sure my recording is still going. It's still go- Yes, it is. Cool. Yeah, I remember I wrote this thing, and yeah, this character was like, "Hey, you got to be happy," and by the end of it, the guy sometimes, oops, sorry, sometimes you don't really have that choice to just say, "Okay, be happy." Sometimes it's not an option. Sometimes I don't know what I'm saying. This whole second half of this whole video needs to be deleted. This whole section. But yeah, sometimes you just gotta find your own happiness. Especially when you're dealing with trauma, when you're dealing with pain, you gotta find it. Faking stuff is never good. But sometimes it is necessary to be selective of what does make you happy. Otherwise, you are going to just be miserable every single moment of every day. That is real pain. Um, that's not so much a fake it till you make it kind of thing. You know what I mean? I'm also in the scene as Dokes and Deborah are talking with this man, with this victim that was cut up. I believe his name was Stanley Tucci. I don't know. Ter- one of the things that Deb said is we're going to blindfold you and reconnect you with what was your trauma. Um, this was the method of that is when you recreate when you manipulate a person's mental or emotional state. What happens is if there are other things such as experiences or memories or things like that, or even ideas that are in resonance to whatever emotional feelings someone is going through, then what will happen is if there's something in their subconscious, in their auric field or whatever, it'll end up becoming very well known and very potent. You could ask somebody, "Yo, hey, share me some of your best memories," and someone will be like, "Huh, I don't know. Let me think about it." But if someone is in a very happy state of mind, a very euphoric state of mind, and then you say, "What were your best memories?" Their memories will come very fluently, and it's because those memories or pieces of whatever are associated to certain emotions. So once you are embodying a certain emotion, it's easier to reenact or refeel certain subconscious experiences and memories. So what Deb was explaining is by triggering or causing the body to be in a similar state as the trauma, it actually will reconnect the body and the soul, the broken piece of the mind, together. This will end up causing the person to fully feel what it is that they went through, and it'll be more potent. And what happens is in the mind, when we get stuck with traumatic events, traumatic things will happen, and a piece of us gets stuck in the past. And a lot of people say, I remember back in the past when this bad thing happened to me. It's because a piece of them, piece of their mind, is still stuck there. Time is different depending on its atmosphere. And when it comes to trauma, pieces of ourself are stuck in the past. So it is important during a healing process, recreating the past, refeeling it, allows one to inject a different emotion or feeling into that situation, such as maybe safety. Whereas before, I was going through this horrible stuff and I didn't feel safe, but now you're choosing to reenact these feelings, but you have more mental or emotional tools with you, as I was explaining earlier. And now that you have more tools with you, and now that you worked on feeling safe within yourself, now when your trauma starts to repeat itself, or you force yourself to repeat your situation or your trauma, and what happens is you are now better equipped to resonate with that broken memory, and then you're able to reprogram it and look at it from a different point of view. Once you do that, then that past is redefined and the experience is completely different, thus having a more healthier healing experience of trauma. But as you see, this individual in this scene of Dexter was not ready for that just yet, so he just feels fear, and once that fear happens, withdrawal happens. um, this was a good actor, the guy with the glasses. This is what you call a red herring. A red herring is point the audience to this character being the bad guy. And at the end of the day, it's like, oh no, he was just a fake, just to throw you off. Um, so now here we have Dexter dropping off Batista to his wife's place, or ex-wife place. Dexter is finding himself being sucked more and more into the people around him. With Dexter being seen as a good person now, Dexter is now embodying more of what Angel Batista's character represents. So now Dexter is getting involved into Batista's stuff, Angel Batista's situations. So here's a very useless piece of knowledge again. The decor, the way that Angel Batista dresses, was actually the motivation for uh, some of the wardrobe in Spiral that came out in 2000, I believe 20 or 21. I think the movie was actually made in 2019 or 18, and because the whole virus situation didn't come out till about 2 or 3 years later, so I always get mixed up for when that movie actually came out. But it was Spiral, directed by Darren Bousman. So if you ever want to look that up, they got their wardrobe from Dexter and mostly Batista. Uh, yeah. Let's see. Here's some more awkward stuff going on in Dexter. All right, let's see. I think the last thing that I can really say about this show, about this season, honestly, is about the main villain, which is the ice truck killer, and to talk more about what his symbolism is. All right. Okay. So just finished that last episode, episode 5. The very end of that episode, Dexter and Rita, they're at the table. Dexter's trying. Dexter's understanding that trauma, or the thing that connects them, sometimes a similar of a goal, a mutual goal, or mutual goal can be the thing that can really bond people together. Um, their pain may be trauma, their pains may be different, but sometimes to grow in a direction or to get to a certain point together, sometimes having that with a partner can better help create something good between two broken people or two people in general. Their pains may be different. They may be from two different worlds, but when there is a positive mutual goal, that can usually be the thing that can really bind people together, or can really help relationships grow in such a way. It's really hard trying to give relationship advice because so many people go through so much stuff and they automatically assume the worst, and then they become these self-fulfilling prophecies, and it's just very, very hard to give relationship advice, and people say, but wait a minute, what if this happens? And it's like, yeah. So yeah, Dexter goes and finds one of his victims, and I can probably skip episode 6 altogether, honestly. Oh no, I can't. I can't go back now. Yeah, Dexter gets one of his victims and finds out that his wife was a part of him with his misdeeds. So of course Dexter's like, wait a minute, can I do that? Can I have a mistress doing my misdeeds? One of the biggest disconnections between the Dexter and Rita's characters are the fact that um, Rita does represent the part of Dexter that he feels most disconnected from. So of course, that's one of the big problems that I had that I had with the show that I think a lot of people did have with Rita's character, because whenever Dexter was going through Dexter things, Rita would show up or Rita would call, and it would like interfere with the seriousness of the show of or what Dexter was going through. And I think that messed up a lot of the audience members because they didn't really think too much that Rita's character symbolizes taking Dexter out of that side of him, that that more of that darker side of the dark passenger side. She did represent his goodness and all that, and so whenever she would show up and get involved, she was the remnant of his good side. She was the remnant of his good side. So when she would call and all this. A lot of people were like, "Oh my gosh, she's ruining things. She's messing up things, or she's this and that." And it's like she was a part of his mind that was like, "Hey, you're getting a bit too out of control. Here's a reminder of your other good side. That side of yourself." But yeah, a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people don't really care about that. And it's weird. It's weird growing up and getting to know people, seeing different sides of people. It's like I don't even want to go down that road. But yeah. Oh, why did I do that? Why did I do that? There it is. M99, the etorphine, hydrochloride. Torphine. Okay, etorphine hydrochloride. That is like so the horse. Yeah, the etorphine hydrochloride M99 tranquilizer. I believe that's for horses or elephants or something. But that is I believe that is one of the only times that you actually get to the name of the drug that Dexter actually uses whenever he gets his victims. So etorphine hydrochloride. Again, I probably shouldn't give that information out because these older episodes of Dexter, they can get away with a bit more. Uh-oh, Rita's calling Dexter. I remember in the soundtrack of the first season of Dexter, I believe it was Dan Lick does the music. But Dan Lick's brother, but I believe it was Dan Lick's brother. He did a song for Dexter season 1 at the end. It was kind of a rap song, and one of the lines he says Rita's cooking dinner and she wants you to come home, wants you to join too. And during that song at the very beginning, you'll hear the blood theme that was laid out by Dan Licht as the instrumental, and then you'll hear the choir come in, and then you'll hear the first verse. But right when the choir comes in and you hear like the bass drop, you will actually hear this cracking, popping sound. The one of the composer Dan Licht actually used an instrument made of human bones to make that sound. He went on public record and said that, but yeah, that sound was human bones being made into an instrument. Not. Oh yeah, the phone call with Rita is what triggered that. I'm like, I don't know why I'm saying that now. Man, sorry. Oh yeah, right. I'm like, didn't I see this episode? I remember in celebration of Dexter original sin, some of the old not voice actors rewatched the show on this podcast on YouTube. I believe it's a podcast. Might as well give it a shout out or give someone the name of it. But on that TV show, our boy Dokes watched this episode 6 of season 1, and he. So yeah, I do remember. Um, this was the episode, and he was talking about the cheesecake. There it is. Dexter. Oh wow, okay. So it's on Dexter and Paramount Plus with Showtime. Yeah. So I believe Dexter is on Paramount Plus now. The new series that's coming out, the prequel. So yeah, Dokes watched this episode with someone. I believe it was. So yeah, I think this was the one. Um, so yeah, that's why this episode seemed familiar. And then the little kid had to do the drawing of who saved him. Is that Lisa Bonet? We can't remember who Dokes' mom is. I believe she played Will Smith's mom too in Fresh Prince. I love how Dexter is starting to become human, and the more human he's becoming, the more he feels like he's a monster, losing sight of reality. Sorry, and here is I don't know what's more annoying, hearing me clear my throat, attempt to clear my throat, or hearing me cough all for an hour. Here's LaGuerta with a child. Um, I think it's safe to skip this episode. I am doing so. Yeah, this is why I picked my PS3 because I can skip through the episodes very quickly. So now here's a bunch of bones that are buried at a outside a place that was very similar to season 6 and season 7 of Dexter with Hannah McKay and her boyfriend. I used to know every character's name. Like when it came to Dexter, when it came to Heroes, when it came to like Saw, Bully, I knew like everyone's name. And as I gotten older, I just their names are just fading away. So now we have Dexter versus Paul. Paul's character representing more of abuse. Yeah, Dexter, Paul's character representing abuse toward Rita. Um, that's a side of Dexter that he really had to tame. Was that he has to be there for these kids and he has to be present. He can't abandon them like Paul did. Paul is a reflection of Dexter's character of what he basically can get away, what just the horrible side of what Dexter can possibly trigger within Rita's character, what he can possibly do. So the resistance of the Paul character is, so Dexter has to deal with Paul, but keep it humane. And yeah, that's something for sure. That's something when you're just like, hey, here's a girl, time to blend in, and all of a sudden, uh, sorry, I just saw some disturbing images as I was skipping through. There was a naked girl covered in blood with her eyes open, and a second later, it's the same one with her eyes closed. And I just was not prepared to see that. Oh no, two different victims. Matthews was the captain of the captain of the department on Dexter. From what I believe when this show came out, he was actually on a prior sitcom, and it was that '80s show. I need to get my timelines right, but from what I remember, was right after that '70s show ended, that '80s show was picked up. That '80s show apparently had no marketing, and no one knew about the show. No one knew the show existed. The few people who did know that the show existed said, "Oh, it's not the same as that '70s show." Basically, the whole cast was changed, and it was about the '80s instead of the '70s. The character who plays the captain on Dexter was the dad, the grumpy old dad replacing Red Foreman. And so, here, can I just, like, hold on, I've seen YouTubers do this. Well, they'll take the microphone and put it up to their clothes. They'll staple it on. But, oh, come on, just stick to the shirt. Okay, well, I might sound a little loud for a few seconds. Sorry about that. But, yeah, so he was the dad on that '80s show. And the show got canceled after only 13 episodes. Yeah, only 13 episodes. There was a time when Family Guy actually got canceled, and when I believe it was on Fox, and when Family Guy got canceled, Peter jumps into his living room and he says, "Sorry guys, bad news, we got canceled." And he was like, "Fox wants to change some stuff around, so this is a list of all the shows that they canceled." So he stops and he gives a whole list, and in that list he says that '80s show. And a lot of people thought that it was just a joke, that '80s show. That's funny, that '70s show. Turns out a couple years later, no, that '80s show was a real show that got canceled. So after that show, at some point, the captain was able to get a contract here on Dexter, and it bettered his career. Very similar to how Harry Morgan got his job as Dexter's dad. And yeah, and secretly, not even secretly, like 110%, Matthews knew who Dexter was. Um, if you really pay attention to season 8, 7 of Dexter, if you really pay attention to Matthew's character, especially at the end of season 7, Detective or Matt and season 2, Matthews 100% knew that Dexter was a serial killer between Vogel, Camilla, and Harry, and and Matthews. They knew who Dexter, and I guess technically Brian. They all knew about Dexter's past. Um, yeah, they knew about Dexter's past, and so if you really put the pieces together and you see how Matthews reacted, especially towards Lundy and LaGuerta in seasons 2 and season 7, all the evidence points to Dexter. Matthews purposefully ignored a lot of that evidence. Matthews purposefully tried to warn Lieutenant LaGuerta, let it go, don't worry about it. He tried to make her seem crazy because, yeah, Matthews knew. This all the evidence shows that Matthews knew who Dexter was, but kept it secret the whole time. And yeah. So now this episode is episode 8. Yeah, season 8. Um, there it goes. So season 8, you could say that this was more of a therapy session of, would Dexter ever go to therapy for what he went through? And him really killing this therapist is more of like a, it's more like a no. You what was I saying? Oh, it was more like a no. Dexter wouldn't really go to therapy for what it is he's going through. He has this weird outlet or whatever, and that's what he's mostly attached to. So this person that he's killing um, is more of that, but also seeing how Rita is being abused, and to not make Dexter seem like a bad character. A lot of the characters that Dexter actually kills in the show are actually representations of what he's going through and him killing that part of himself. But the show doesn't want Dexter to seem like a bad character, even though he actually is. He is very, very crazy, very narcissistic. He is psychologically messed up as a character. But the creators, the producers, the writers give an illusion, give a very powerful illusion of the character of the who Dexter is and our relationship with him. Us as an audience, we're supposed to be the only type of sympathy that this character really has, no matter how bad or wrong he does. The therapist that he kills this episode 8 of season 1, is more of a Rita's going through a very hard time, and can Dexter actually convince Rita to be self-destructive? Can he really be self-destructive, and can he really convince this girl that she's crazy? Can he manipulate her into possibly killing herself, or into leaving? I don't want to say killing herself, that may be a bit extreme, but like Dexter's at this point where he's like, I have an opportunity now where I can manipulate the situation, manipulate her emotions, and manipulate her weakness, and actually get rid of her. She said she wants sex from me. I don't want it. Her life is becoming my life. And it's an inconvenience for me. It's becoming more of just a blending in. She's getting too close to my feeling. It's like she's getting into this territory with Dexter, and Dexter has to face the darkness of what that really means for someone who is a psychopath. so now so now there's more intimacy, and now she's trying to seduce him on the couch, and he's like, oh my god. Said, I can't kill him. I can't kill my therapist yet. I need another therapy session. That's gotta be one of my favorite lines in all of my favorite TV shows. That's one of my favorite lines. You know what? Just because of that one line, I might do Weeds. I might do an audio recording for Weeds. At least the first 3 seasons. Maybe. Probably not. Probably not gonna happen ever, but my feelings are just all over the place right now. And there's Woody. There's Woody and Jennifer. Deb. Okay, okay. So there's yeah, Deborah and Rudy doing their thing. So weird looking at moments like this, tender moments like this on TV. After a while, it gets to be a bit much because I never had too much of that myself. That was one of the that was one of the things that Dexter and I had. One of the things that Dexter and I had in common was that we had problems with connecting, with socializing. Okay, I took a bit of a break to skip through this scene real quick. I had to watch this scene. Um, so in this scene that I just watched, I felt like it was important because Dexter was talking with the shrink. So a few things about this section, about this part in episode 8. Um, so the therapist, so Dexter's like, oh, blah blah blah, in the therapy session, help me out, and then the therapist is like, okay, well, I'm gonna walk you through an exercise and close your eyes and put you through a situation where you felt vulnerable. Now, I went through a whole explanation about what Deb tried this method on Tucci to try and retrigger his PTSD. This was a more in depth of what that looks like when the therapist did that with Dexter. So of course Dexter's like blah 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 whatever. Now actually looking and then also in the scene, um, Dexter's like, I tried to be intimate with my girlfriend and I couldn't do it, and he was like, you once you learn to accept yourself for who you are, once you accept yourself for what you have, once you really accept you for you, then you'll understand that it is easier to be more vulnerable. A lot of times people, they can't be vulnerable, they don't know how to be vulnerable because they don't have a healthy space or a healthy foundation within themselves that allows them to go out and explore, to have fun with the outside world, or to interact with outside situations that are away from them, whether it be mentally or emotionally, spiritually. Also, it could be a spiritual thing where someone that is locked in certain belief systems or a certain religion or something like that. And when it comes to spirituality coming to maybe help expand some of those beliefs, it could be a problem. It could be a bunch of things, physically, mentally, emotionally. It could be a lot of things. And when we don't feel acceptance, when we don't have acceptance, we don't have a healthy boundary. Healthy boundaries don't exist without acceptance. So once we don't have that, then we don't have that security inside of ourselves. And then we don't know how to connect with outside things or to make the most of outside things. So even though we want to do something, we want to connect with somebody, we want to maybe take a ride at the fair, but we're just too afraid to do it. I'm sorry, let me make sure it's recording. Yes. We're just too afraid to do it. Then, sometimes it's just more about we have to just find a piece, we have to have a stable foundation within ourselves internally. Um, a lot of times that does happen with sex also, with intimacy also. I mean, that's those two words separately, and they can be shared, but sometimes we can't connect with a partner because we just don't feel secure within ourselves, or there's a part of ourselves we reject, part of ourselves we don't accept, don't know how to accept it, and we don't want someone to look at that part of us and feel ashamed, or if we find someone that we actually care about, we don't want them to reject us, we don't want them to hurt us. The people that are closest to us, we influence their heart, they influence our heart. What we see in each other is a beautiful thing. But a lot of people don't understand as above, so below. The more love and connection that something can have, the more powerful the more powerful it can hold us together. But at the same time, it can have an equal amount of destruction once it's flipped. And we don't want that to happen. We don't want that taken away. Um, so yeah, it was important. So yeah, what the therapist said, and understand that there are different parts of who we are. And once we learn to accept that they are there, then, we can begin the steps to the next level. I'm not going to talk about monsters or addictions or anything like that because that goes more into season 2 of the show. And I don't want to drag this along if I don't have to. So I'll get into that more into that in season 2, especially after Dexter go kills little Chino, gets into that part. Um, okay, so what was I saying? So yeah, therapist did that. The therapist guided Dexter through an exercise, told him to close his eyes, reconnect with vulnerability, and accept that he has a monster, and accept that intimacy is more healthy once acceptance is there. Someone accept your own body for how it is. If there's a modification that you want for your body, doesn't necessarily have to be out of hatred or out of insecurity. Having modification of your body, whether it be a tattoo or a piercing, can really help you embody more of how you feel inside. Um, something along the lines of that. But it's hard. But like but it's hard to get to do stuff like that. But not really, because if you want a tattoo, then you get a tattoo and it means something. But anyway, so he guides him through, and Dexter tries to find his vulnerability. Now, if you actually look closely at the scenes in the therapist, what you'll see, there's Dexter minding his own business, trying to chill, and he gets bullied. It's like, okay, I just want to hurt you now, and I can't even follow that instinct, and I feel like I can't protect myself from this pain happening to me, and there's nothing that I can do to help protect myself. Mental trigger. Harry flashes show Harry grabbing Dexter as a kid, and I told you not to do that. There's more of a link between him feeling vulnerable and him facing the voice that tells him, don't protect yourself. And yeah, telling him the root of his trauma of him holding himself is, if you lose control, if you make yourself vulnerable, then it's all over for you. So that's a mental block right there, a trauma block right there of why Dexter does not want to be vulnerable. Heck, where did my sound just go? Oh, my sound bar messed up. That's why. Gotta reset my sound bar. So, which I can reset it while I'm talking. And the next scene that you see this child, you see Dexter as a kid crying in the blood. That scene was actually very horrifying on set, simply because that was a real kid, and the kid was actually screaming in that scene, and it was horrifying. The cast members were there saying that, I believe there was twins, but one of them was not happy to be in that room, and they said that they all felt very bad about having that kid in that scene, and like I don't think they ever brought him back because of how terrified that kid looked. So yeah, they just kind of left it. The next scene, which is important, is Dexter allowing himself to be vulnerable and accepting that he has this monster. He leaves, and he has a new revelation within himself. of accepting that this monster is there, accepting a higher part of who he is, and being more vulnerable about who he is, and being more vulnerable with the idea that there's this woman or this person that he cares about, and he goes to her and says, "Hey, I want to be vulnerable to whatever this feeling is. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to express it, but I'm sorry, hold on. I don't know how to express it, but I want to be vulnerable to it." So when the two of them are together, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, so when two of them are vulnerable together and they're finally making love, Rita says, "Stay with me." He's starting to, disconnect and say, "Nope, time to retract. I'm scared." And she's just like, "No, stay with me. I want you to be here with me." And the moment becomes less of an aggression and more of a vulnerability. Um, Dexter giving into his primal urges of, "I want this thing, I appreciate this thing, and I want to express fully how I feel about this thing." And Rita feeling like, I can fully trust, I can fully be open, I can fully be vulnerable, and this person is expressing that they love me and that they care about me and that they want to have this intimate interaction with me. And that means the world. Um, this scene is very strong in the sacred connection between having sex and things like that. Sometimes getting out of that moment, we sometimes wonder that, what did we make a mistake or something? It's not that. It's just the emotional resonance isn't there. So sometimes we were just not at that mindset where, you know. So yeah, Dexter and Rita finally overcame that barrier. So yeah, now that freedom has happened, Dexter is free to kill his therapy now that he's had his session. Nah. Alright, so now that Dexter is off to kill his therapist, he analyzes him and analyzes the situation. As in, you took women that were powerful, women that were of power, and you took their vulnerabilities and destroyed them with it and made them kill themselves. Earlier on in this episode, Rita does say, "Hey, you make me feel strong, you make me feel empowered as a woman," and Paul never made me feel that way. So now that Dexter was able to see that and connect with that and read his character, he sees what the therapist took away and destroyed. Whereas Dexter now became an enabler of a woman's strength, he sees that this other version is the destroyer of women's strength. And so now this is him symbolically killing that part of him and saying, "Oh, I'm never going to take advantage of women like that and kill them because I got mommy issues." Oh, really? No way am I that far. I am really that far, huh? So now we got the identity of the ice truck killer. I did not know. Barbie, be patient. One day we'll share a cold one. I think every fan agrees that the biggest mistake the show made was killing off this character, Brian. Um, so the ice truck killer represents Dexter's full darkness. We have the name, the Dark Passenger, but the actual real entity, or the real dark side of who Dexter um, is actually the ice truck killer. And the correlation being Dexter kills his victims and puts them into cuts them up into pieces. The ice truck killer does the same thing, kills people, mostly hookers, and cuts them up and puts them into pieces. That is a strong symbolism of mommy issues and the killing of females. But I don't want to go too much into that psyche of that side of the show. But them wanting to reconnect with their mother and have a sense of intimacy and love and bond and connection. The only way Rudy Cooper knows how to do it is to find women and murder them as hookers because he just wants to he wants to connect with women and be close with his mom again. Whereas with Dexter, found a different way to express cutting people's body parts up, and he found intimacy through Rita's character. So Rudy, I Strike Killer represents the dark side of Dexter, and if he fully went down that serial killer side and didn't have his human side with him. I'm pretty sure that was obvious for most people, but that's what that's what the Ice Truck Killer represented, was that side of Dexter. And when you are dealing with trauma, you have that Batman Joker dynamic. You have the dynamic of, hey, we've been through the same thing, but are you going to go tip this way and be, more of the lighter side, or take control of that pain and that darkness, or are you going to let the pain and darkness control you? Yeah, okay. Let me go ahead and pause it as I skip to the next episode. I think, yeah, there's only four, three, 9, 10, 11, 9, no, 4 episodes left. There's only four more episodes left for me to review. Um, and of course, okay, now this is when we get to Stan the Man Boat. No, not Stan Beaudry. Oh, I forgot who that doctor was. Joseph. I don't know, but Dexter's real dad. Dexter's birth dad. It's crazy to think that the ice truck killer actually murdered his own dad just for the sake of getting close to his brother. Yeah, it's funny. They were like, "How did a death become a couples retreat?" Oh wait, I think, yeah, just as I said that Dexter said that line. Wow. Yeah, how did a death turn into a couples weekend? No. Yeah, so now they're getting Chinese food, they're doing all this fun stuff, and it is what it is. Retriggering Dexter's memories and Batista. Oh yeah. Batista wants to be a loyal person, but sometimes loyalty means saying the right thing and hurting the wrong people. He has to be honest and he has to be righteous. That's within his character. And this situation, the FBI agent is in the back seat as Batista gives this huge confession. It's like this huge dramatic situation. Angel's in the car and it's raining and he's in a dark, secluded place and he looks like he's on the verge of tears. This represents Batista's emotional state of how he really feels about having to rat out Dokes for shooting this random guy out in the street. The cop in the background is like, yeah, I don't care about all this. I just need a statement. I just need you to say something, and I'm gone. He doesn't care about anything. But the whole situation, the music, the rain, the car, all of it is a strong symbolism of the hardship of what Angel's going through internally just to say these words. Just for at the end of the day, it's like, okay, cool. So by the end of that story, a cop bumps into Angel and he says, "Squeak, squeak," for ratting out a cop like that. And Dokes has to go up there and regulate and be like, "Hey, you just bumped into your superior. You need, I believe, you owe Angel Batista an apology." And that's Dokes saying, "Hey, this beef, I'm not mad at him for what he did, and all of you should not be mad either. If I'm okay with it, and because this situation happened to me, and if I let it go, all of you need to let this go." Like Angel did what he thought was right, and that was good. And Dokes is like, just so you know that we're clear, and this situation proves that we're clear, and it's water under the bridge. We let this situation go. And that's just how men do it, I guess. Certain people do it. Okay, so now we're going through Rita and the spousal abuse in this next episode. And yeah, the justice system, the corruption of the justice system, and the technicalities of things like that. And Dexter's now his MO for wanting to, hurt people is starting to manifest within Rita's situation, which is, the justice system has its flaws, and sometimes things just don't go as people want them to. And now it seems like, okay, everything is, how are we going to deal with this without letting that bad side come out? But it still is possible. So now this shows how can it really be dealt with in such a big way. And whenever people go through these horrible situations, sometimes other people can look at them like, "Oh, your problem is simple. Just do this." And for the other person, their whole world can be, devastated. And this is a part of the story where Deb is nagging at Dexter, and it's like, "How do you feel about this, Dexter? How do you feel about that, Dexter?" That is because, again, Deb is a representation of Dexter's humanity. So Dexter is going through human emotions now. He's going through human situations, and he himself doesn't know how to deal with it. And Rita's or Dexter or Deborah's yelling at him or nagging at him is actually his internal subconscious yelling at him and saying, "Hey, we got to process what happened. You went into this hotel room and you fell in a pool of blood. How do you feel about that? Like, how are you going to deal with this? Where is your foundation?" And of course, humanity. Deb representing humanity is a wedge between Dexter and Dexter's dark side. In the very first episode, Dexter said, "If I could love somebody, it would be Deb." That really manifests more potently in the story arc with the ice truck killer and Dexter. Uh, Deborah is more of a character that is in between Dexter and the ice truck killer. Um, her symbolizing humanity is the thing that is ultimately blocking the ice truck killer from fully getting to Dexter, which is a symbolism of Deb representing humanity being the one thing that's stopping Dexter from falling fully into his dark side. So that is why. So um, that is why why the ice truck killer is kind of messing with, is like not very happy with Deb right now because the dark side really wants to take over Dexter. And Rudy Cooper, or why do I keep saying that? Brian is a representation of a full darkness. I think this is one of the only times that Dokes gives Dexter a compliment. All right, so I guess I just have to finish this now. I was skipping through the rest of the episodes, I guess there's not much else I can say. So yeah, with Deb being the block between. Oh wow, okay. Actually, I do have to say this. Yeah, so with Deb being the humanity that wedges the block between Dexter and his dark side, and also Dexter and Rudy. Now Rudy's like, time to get rid of Deb. Um, because Rudy symbolizes Dexter's evil side, full on evil, serial killer tendency. Um, Dexter has to be the one to actually physically kill Deb because the symbolism of Dexter killing Deb was a symbolism of Dexter killing his own humanity and fully embracing his dark side in every way. Um, so that's why Rudy technically couldn't kill Deborah from a story point of view. This show is full of symbolisms, and you'll start to see why a lot of silly things start to kind of happen as the show goes on. It's because of the art of symbolism. That's why. This is episode 11 of season 1. And there's this girl who is a lab tech, and she is listening to music right now. And she's on her computer, and Dexter's trying to get her attention about this blood sample. I don't know what the blood was, but this actress was on a Disney Channel show. I don't know if it was Witches from Beverly Place or something like that, but she originally came from a um, Disney Channel show, and then she jumps to Shotime to this violent show for this one scene. There was something about the way that this girl looked and her hair, the way she danced, the way she moved, all of it. It somehow got my attention, and I went through my DVDs for days and days trying to find this girl, to find her, where what episode she was in, to find this scene. And it took me a long time to find her, but eventually I did. Huh, it looks like part of her hair is actually cropped out of the scene. I wonder if that is another error. Yeah, it's almost like her hair is completely flat on one side, like if it's digital. Like she's not actually, whatever. That's just weird. But anyway, it could be, yeah, that's a digital error. I think they digitally enhanced the lighting, and the computer cut half a part of her hair off, and it looks like her half of her hair or head is digitally put in this scene. So yeah, that's a huge error, and the color filters for Dexter and her are different. So, yeah, they compute huge computer error. But anyway, I bring that up. I bring her up because when I made my Haru Suzuki story, there was a lot of influence from Dexter storyline and the Haru Suzuki storyline. This actress fit the face of one of the characters I wrote in my story, Erica, and I couldn't figure out a face for Erica for the longest time. Every other character in my story had a face, had a reference. Ugh, excuse me. Even the main character's uncle, Leo, was based off Dokes. But I could not get Erica's face for whatever reason. And once I saw this actress, it was like, oh, that's her. Somehow she is that character. And so I based that character off of her just now. Um, Trivia, I guess. If anyone ever does read my Haru Suzuki story, Erica's randomly based off, this character. Yep, it was a digital error. As she turns her head, you could see the weird cropping. So there's a digital error. So now Rudy Cooper does his thing, takes her, and yeah. So yes, again, symbolisms of that, of Rudy Cooper's dark side, or Rudy Cooper being Dexter's dark side, blah blah blah. So with the killing of, I guess I can probably end it here then. So with the death of, with the very last scene, we have Dexter at, no wait, Dexter. Dexter's gonna say his line at the shipyard. Maybe I'll do that another time, or I'll listen to it later. Yeah. So now Dexter is anyway. So now when we get to the finale, we're at the finale now. Now as Dexter gets to the point where he has to kill the ice truck killer now. Um, this is Dexter. Dexter has to make a commitment, a committing decision now to who he wants to be and how he wants this to go down. Um, is Dexter going to? Oh wait, here's shipping scene right now. So Dexter now has to make the full conscious decision. Is he going to? Sorry, excuse me. Is he going to fully go into his dark side, or is he going to choose his humanity side? That choice that he makes actually defines what the entire show is actually going to be about, which is Dexter now exploring his human side. And that was the conscious decision of why, of Dexter not killing Deb, and why the books and the show branched off so much. Not the show is more of Dexter exploring his human side, where in the books Dexter was just an evil psychotic monster. And Rudy actually lived. Rudy actually survived in the books and didn't die till, like, I think the last book. And here's the scene with jokes. Don't be dead. Surprise, motherfucker! You following me now? I had to hear that. I think the microphone, you guys might have heard that. I hope you did. Eric King, Dokes' character, did say that the writers wrote that line. It would have been amazing if he made that line up himself, but the writers did make up that line. As a writer, if I wrote that line and it became so popular, I don't think I would want people to know it was me. I wouldn't want people to know I wrote that line. I'd be like, nah, it's a legend on its own. This person delivered that legendary line. I don't want the credit for that. I want them to have the credit. But that's just me. That's just me if I was that's just me if I was the the writer of that. Anyway, sorry. So yeah. So yeah, we get to this huge emotional climax climax. We get to the climactic, the big finale of the show, and now Dexter chooses humanity or being a serial killer, and so he chooses Deb, therefore choosing his humanity. And once you make a big choice, oh, Rita goes to the station. Once you make a big decision for yourself. Oh, so on the TV, there's a cop on TV. She becomes the Guerdo's replacement in season 2. For anyone who cares about Easter eggs or trivia. But yeah, so whenever we make a big decision for ourselves or for our lives begin to unfold in new chapters that are based off these big decisions that we make. So the fact that we're not always aware, though, of what that means when we make these decisions. So the fact that Dexter chooses, I want to be human, he now set up the tone for the entire show of, okay, you want to be human, then you're going to go through all of the barriers of what's stopping you from being human. And with going through each of these layers and each of these barriers, you're going to have to face those truths within yourself and make a decision that is going to mold and shape what your ultimate experience and relationship is going to be with life and with humanity itself. And that is how we go from this prologue of Dexter, and we go into the rest of the entire show. Um, I don't really. I did say that I was going to spoil things, but now when I get into New Blood, I don't know exactly how I can word that, because with Deb representing Dexter's humanity, once you see the ending of New Blood and what that kind of means and what that symbolizes, it's more of an unspoken situation. So with Dexter Resurrection, that's going to be very interesting to see how the producers or how Clyde Phillips and the writers are going to take that, what direction. Um, so yeah, so each of these characters, they symbolize something, and Dexter right now is face to face with his dark side and chooses. You either choose me, darkness, family, blood, or you choose humanity and choose Deb. And Deborah, of course, falling in love with Rudy was more of of her falling in love with Dexter's dark side because she senses Dexter within him. Also, the fact that Deb rejected Brian in the first season represents strongly that um, Deb couldn't accept Dexter in season 7. So Deb rejecting Rudy as well as Dexter killing Rudy is actually what ultimately became the biggest wedge and problem for um, Dexter and Deborah in season 7 of Dexter, because the Rudy character was killed off, and the psychological decision between dark, evil, and humanity was already established through killing him in this episode, in this season. And the last thing is in season 6 when Rudy Cooper came back. That was Dexter. You know what? I can just explain that in season 6 when I do my season 6 review. But my voice is getting bad. I'm losing my voice. Um, but yeah, so this was season 1 of Dexter. This is my review of season 1 of Dexter. And at the end, Dexter's like, "Oh, everyone can see me as a hero." And he really is crazy. But this show is very strong when it came to dealing with trauma and PTSD, family, intimacy, things like that, and humanity. Um, so yeah, this is one of my episodes for my Halloween thing. 31 Days of Halloween. I hope you guys did enjoy this and listen to it halfway through. I had a bit of an episode, but I hope my friend's okay. I hope she's okay. I really do hope she's okay. So, thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to Dexter Original Sin. I'm looking forward to Dexter New Blood, Resurrection. I'm looking forward to all of that. And I'm very interested to see how Dexter Original Sin is going to handle Dexter, because all all of Dexter Original Sin happened before Dexter started killing off these personas of himself. So Origin is a full they have full range to make a story, symbolism or not. Whereas with Resurrection, I don't know how they're going to tackle that. So we'll see how it goes. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in season 2